honey, I'm terrified. My name is Roberta, and I am an addict. And I'm terrified. Part of it is I'm real jacked up behind caffeine. If only we knew 28 years ago for me that you could get jacked up behind caffeine, right? Would have been easy. Of course, you can't destroy yourself with caffeine, so we wouldn't have been interested, right? Or today you can feel the adrenaline. Who knew? Who knew about adrenaline? Today we know about adrenaline, we know about endorphins that come from inside. And if we're not too nuts, we can actually experience up and down and up and down and up and down on the natch. My name is Roberta, and I am an addict, and I bring greetings from the Southern California region of Narcotics Anonymous. Where they told me it would be cold in the hotel in Tucson. To have fucking sweaters with me. That's one. This is the first time I've ever been a convention speaker, and that's part of the reason I'm real terrified. Another reason is because it's in Arizona. Now I'm going to cry. The mascara's going to go down over here. I got clean in Arizona. And probably most of you got clean in Arizona too, but it's not a big deal for you. You live in Arizona. I don't live in Arizona. I don't come from Arizona. I don't know if you could tell, but I come from Brooklyn. I lived in Los Angeles, and I was sent to Arizona to get clean. I was what they call an intervention. I didn't want to get clean. I didn't know how to get clean. I didn't know that you could get clean. And I didn't know I should get clean. All I knew is that I wanted to die. And that desire was 24 hours a day. See, that was the nature of my bottom. Instead of being ready to die on a daily basis like I had been through 23 years of using, and I turned it into some kind of like matcha bullshit, right? Hey, I'm ready to die. I was a really good date. In the end, I wanted to die. And I didn't know that I didn't have to die. And I was an intervention. And they came and they got me and they sent me to Arizona. And I got off the plane in Phoenix. And I don't want to say I was coming down because the last, 5 or whatever years of my using, I was never down. I was always sideways or something. I don't know what the hell I was. But I was always an extremist. And at the edge or the limit of my nervous system. And on the plane coming here, it was in Phoenix. As every other day previous, the last couple of months, I did as much drugs as I could. I drank as much as I could. I put as many drugs as I could get into every place that I could in my body. I also was eating and throwing up and doing me. You know how like we do ourselves? I was doing me to make it stop. Make it stop. And I found myself on this plane to Phoenix. And I knew that this was going to be like, all those trips to the shrink You know, how many years? Let's see, from the age of 14 to 32, pretty much steady. I went through the psychoanalytic, psychotherapeutic, you know, Gestalt, Gedis, Gedat, Gedo, Gedak, Gedo in New York, you know. I went through all of them. They all have houses in Southampton for me. And they would dismiss me at the end. You know, there's something wrong with you, but we can't help you. And they passed me on to the next guy. And I knew on the airplane, I had a fear that at one more time I was going someplace, you know, drug abuse treatment, where I'd con them again, because I couldn't help it. That's the way I operated, with the con, with the fast mouth, with the I know everything. And I was afraid of that. It was going to happen again, because somewhere in me there was a little tiny spark. You know, I didn't die the day before. They did come and break open my apartment and scrape me off the floor and put me on an airplane, and I was on my way to Phoenix. And I also knew I could kill myself tomorrow. I always knew that. That's the way I lived. I can kill myself tomorrow. Well, I landed in Phoenix, and they sent somebody to meet me who was a man with one arm. Now, right away, I'm coming off of everything, because everything only lasts with me by this time in my using 90 seconds, right? And once I see him, I can't use anymore. And he's got one arm, and he's not the talkative. And I'm like this. You right? Well, I was like that usually. That's why I started using. I started using to take the edge off of that. Unfortunately, when I started using when I was 12, 13, I started with black beauties. I was all edge. You know, the thing that I knew that would really take the edge off was to blow my head off with a gun. That would take my edge off. I was all edge. Isn't it funny? That's how we talk. Honey, I got to take the edge off with this. Right? You don't want it, so the edge, that you're going to die from taking that edge off. Well, it's an edge. And we get in the car and we drive. He picks me up in Phoenix at the airport, and I know now I was terrified. Then I didn't know what to call what I was. I wouldn't even say feel. I didn't know what it was. I knew I was nuts, and now I know I was terrified, and I never copped or knew that could say I'm afraid till I was clean about 3 years. That's how sick I was in regard to feelings. So we get in the car, we're driving through Phoenix or Sun City or some with the walls. Where the hell am I? And now we're driving and it's dark, there's no lights, and we're driving. And we're driving. I landed like 11 o'clock at night. We're driving, and this road, and it doesn't stop. And I'm like, like this, and I said to him, "What's out there?" And he said, "Nothing." Welcome to Arizona, right? I didn't know, but that was my first miracle. But because he told me there was nothing out there, I never left treatment. Because I thought that for those hours, or 65 miles, whatever it was, there was nothing, that I wouldn't be able to even get like a bowl of gin to take the edge off until I got all the way back to L.A. So I stayed. And they did like an intake interview, sort of an interview, or I don't really remember, at midnight or whatever, 1 in the morning when I got there, during which they told me about they told you too. The scorpions, the tarantulas, and make sure you walk over here because the rattlesnakes are over there. And I'm not breezy about that kind of information. For one, I lived in L.A., but I was loaded every second. I come from New York, things like that, you're not like breezy about. Scorpions, Plus, I was clean for 6 entire months, clean as a whistle, before I could get into bed and not have the bugs on my legs. You know what I mean? The bugs, the heads are going up. You know, like the bugs? And I want to tell you, this disease is not a function of intelligence. I'm pretty smart. And yet every night for years, well, every other night, whenever I would go into bed, and get into bed, and, I did it when it was clean. I got into bed, and the bugs would be there. And, you know, one more time, take the light, pick up the cover, I got you, and they would be gone. I never could figure it. They had these bugs in Arizona, too. Everywhere I went, they had these bugs. It wasn't until I was clean for 6 months and had a night when I didn't have the bugs that I knew that it was caused by what it had done to me. And I cried at my Sunday morning meeting when I realized that. This is one evidence of what damage you did to you, and your disease told you it was okay. It's not okay. It's not okay to do that to you, Roberta. You know? Anyway, back to the intake interview with the scorpions, the tarantulas, and the rattlesnakes. They gave me pajamas and they put me in bed. And the next day I woke up, and that was my first day clean. And that was 5 years, 9 months, and 2 days ago. I haven't used for 5 years, 9 months, and 2 days. And you know, I don't say I haven't had to use. I haven't had to use, because that means some people have to use. So I hear that, you hear that. Well, I guess I had to go use. Or I came in, I got clean for rah, and then I had to go use. What do you mean you had to go use? That's what the disease tells. That is the disease. The disease says you have to use. That's what I did for 23 years. Every month, you got to use. You got to go do this. You got to go do that. You got to do that, and you got to use. In order to go here, you got to go use. In order to see the world, you have to go use. Because you can't stand the world. You have to change how you see it. You got to go use. Because you can't stand the weather inside of yourself. You got to go use. And I thought it had to be that way. And that's the message of Narcotics Anonymous. If you're new, you never have to use again. We don't have to use again. This isn't to say that my head hasn't told me I got to use. It's just that, that's my disease. And I'm powerless over that. And that makes my life real unmanageable. When I don't cop to the fact, I start listening to it and think that that's reality. You gotta go use. You gotta go eat 3 dinners. Now. You gotta get that person out of the office. That person must die. You gotta, and you have to. It's not just that you wanna. Oh no, it's you gotta. You gotta. Right? The amazing message I heard when I was first in treatment was that you're right, your whole life, you felt, we know what you're talking about. You felt there was something wrong with you. We felt the same way. And I believed them. And one day, you're not going to feel that way about yourself, like you're wrong, like you're a mistake, like you always have to make excuses just for fucking living. Like you don't know how to live and everybody else on the earth knows how to live except for you. Like you gotta con people into liking you. Like when they do, you don't believe it. And you gotta take a walk. That's my MO. You gotta take a walk. We know how you feel. One day, you won't feel that way all the time. And the only way to get to that is to stop using. And they told me, and I remember this real well, Roberta, if you don't stop using, you don't have a prayer. And if you do stop using, you do. And that was the message of hope and the promise of recovery. And they introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous to show me how to get there. And other people, they used to put us in the bus and take us. It's miles and miles, and it was just incredible, nothing to this meeting in the Sunday night hospital. Was it St. Joseph's? St. Luke's. When I went, it was St. Joseph's. Right, my saint. Of Narcotics Anonymous, Sunday night. And God was working in my life because they would take like people to different places. Me, they kept sending there. And I remember the first one I went to. See, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so I had 12 days clean, and they made you get up. And I know I remember saying, now maybe I didn't say it, but I remember saying, my name is Roberta, I'm an addict, I got 12 days, and I don't see what the big fucking deal is all about. And then all the addicts from Phoenix came around like little birds. It's going to be okay, 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 it's going to be okay. We remember feeling just that way. It's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. Because my major feeling at that time was rage. I could feel that one. And after a treatment of about 2 months, I never wanted to leave because I knew that I didn't know how to stay clean, that it was sort of an accident because you people were around me and those people were around me up there. And the last Sunday, I was being kicked out on a Wednesday, and the last Sunday I went to the same meeting at St. Joseph's. When you're Jewish, you don't have to, like, remember the saints. And I remember, and I stood up and I said, my name is Roberta and I'm an addict and I had 60-something days or something. And I know it's a big deal. And I'm leaving on Wednesday and I'm fucking terrified. I'm going back to Los Angeles. I don't know how to be anywhere and not use. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get off the plane in Burbank and I'm going to drive with my knees and use with my hands. Again, you know. I don't know how to be and not use. And a voice came from the back of the room. He's still in the back of the room. He probably doesn't even remember. Goodbye. A voice came from the back of the room. A voice that I could understand with a New York accent, so profound, who said, screamed out, violating the tradition against crosstalk. He said this. He said, you going back to L.A. on Wednesday? You come to Buena Park on Thursday. There's going to be a Southern California Regional Convention of Narcotics Anonymous. 1,200 addicts going to straighten your bones right out. And I went home and I was picked up by a friend who took me to their house and watched me. You know, everybody was like watching Roberta. What's going to happen to Roberta? And the next day I went home and I got my car and I did my first totally terrifying thing, which is that I drove clean. Anybody relate to that? I had never driven clean before. Who knew? I didn't know how to do it. I was terrified. And I got to Buena Park. I'll never forget this. I drove up to the hotel and it was like glass in the front and I looked and there's thousands of people in there milling around. I said, what am I doing? I know the only way to go into that is to be like loaded up to here. I mean, how am I going to do this? And I learned later that we don't do anything alone. And I didn't do this alone. This was my first, I think, really big miracle. Isn't it amazing how in the beginning they come, 3, 4, 5 minutes, it's like get you into, God's like running a scam on you. Come on, give her another one, she's slipping, give her another one. Where are they now? This was a miracle. I was so terrified to go in there. And I was still very sick, physically, still like this, like the nerves misfiring. I was still like this. Roberta, don't erase yourself, I was like that for about a year. And I walked into the 1,000 people, and I opened up the door, and who was standing there? Chuck from Phoenix. He was standing there. It was somebody I knew. Out of the 1,000 dope fiends who I didn't know, he was standing there. And oh my God. And he looked at me and he said, "We didn't think you were going to make it." So I was a miracle for him. And he stood there, and as the women he knew walked by, he said, "Give her your number, give her your number, give her your number." And I sat with Tom on Sunday morning when I heard the person who would become my sponsor speak, who was still my sponsor. And I was thrust into Narcotics Anonymous. And I stay here, folks. Sometimes I'm hit by the insanity, like I'm going to go somewhere else to fix this part of me, or over here I got to need something else. Or I'm acting out over here, so I got to go over here because they know about over here. It's like, it's like a real addict shit. Something works, so I'm going to look somewhere else. If you're an addict, you don't have to go anywhere else. That's the second thing. If you're a newcomer, you're taking notes. Number 1 is you never have to use again. And number 2 is you never have to go anywhere else. When you hear that little voice that says, maybe you should go over here, you want to be with some people who have been recovering for a very long time. You want to stand next to them and sit with them. I'll tell you what I was taught around here. The only thing, recovery don't rub off. The only thing that rubs off is shit. It works here. The other thing is that the thing that we understand here in Narcotics Anonymous, which we could see in our first step, and applies to the rest of our steps, is the thing that they told me in recovery, and that I continue to hear in Narcotics Anonymous, which was, if you don't use, you have a prayer to get at the problem, which is the disease of addiction. You're sick, and the application of these 12 steps will bring you into the world of recovery. What else do we want? Hello? I believe that it's by, that the disease is a certain thing. It has to do with certain sick thinking. The hallmark of it is denial. You want to know about an addict and denial. Now, from now on, we talk only about clean addicts. And denial, ask an addict, like the person sitting next to you, why they're doing something or why they're not doing something. Well, because, right? Reason, justification, rationalization, minimalization, right? And this stuff peels away in different areas of our lives as we apply the steps. What I believe is that the disease, which causes obsessive thinking, that tells us not only do we want to go do this, but we got to go do it, and we're going to go do it, It's what I call the I wanna, I gotta, I'm gonna. I wanna, I gotta, I'm gonna. I wanna, I gotta, I'm gonna, right? And the denial will keep us blind to the consequences. Like, you're gonna die from it, but I gotta. Like, you're gonna lose the relationship, the marriage is gonna go down the toilet, but I want to, I've got to, I'm going to, right? You're gonna lose your job if you keep doing that. Yeah, but hey, man, I gotta do what I gotta do. And I gotta. It's not just that I wanna, I gotta. Right? Or, maybe some of you don't recognize me from 5 years, 9 months, and 2 days ago because I'm 50 pounds heavier. Because I want it. I gotta eat that. Right? And I'm gonna, I did. That's like automatic, right? Obsession and compulsion. The denial lets us act out on the compulsion over and over and over again. The denial tells us it's okay. Because we gotta, or for whatever cockamamie reasons, if you ever curious how this works, think about it with the drugs, because it's so clear. It's so clear. What the shit that I told myself about, how the sick pride twists everything. So that I take, I'm nothing, I'm a piece of shit. I'm like a loser, I'm a geek. And turn that into, I'm special. Honey, I'm special, I'm hot. Right? And now I have both of these residing in the same person. Right? And that's like automatic stuff. And it's sick thinking. And I'm powerless over that. I don't make that happen. I don't make myself have denial. I don't make myself obsessed or think about drugs today. But I work the steps on it. Because it gets me out of the road of following down to the disease and puts me in another spot, which is the recovery, which is the application of the spiritual principles in the steps. The honesty to stop. See, working the steps requires stopping. Right away we're in business. Because when you're in the disease, you don't stop nothing. It stops you sometimes, right? To stop and admit what I'm powerless over. What I don't like is, 5 years, 9 months, and 2 days later, I gotta not only admit, I gotta accept. Ooh. Yeah. I gotta surrender to the fact that I'm powerless over this. That tells me to go with the food, to eat 3 dinners. Stop. Wait a minute. It's happening again. Hello. It's the voice of my disease. I'm powerless over that. And my life is real unmanageable, and I'm managing the living daylights out of it. Like I remember when I say to my sponsor, I'm so out of control with my eating. It's like I was out of control with my using. I wasn't out of control. I was in control. I wanted, I used. I want to eat, I eat. Everything I want to eat, I eat. That's wildly in control. Only I would be out of control. Ooh. If only something that I would allow something else to be in control. I'm powerless over this. And for people who are listening on tape, when I say this, I put my hands up to my temples and bang my head. This in my head. And my life is unmanageable. And when I don't admit I'm powerless, I'll get in there and manage it and make it more unmanageable. And it's nuts. But you know what? I have come to believe there is a power greater than me who can restore me to sanity. And I have to enter into that process of coming to believe that there's a power greater than me who can restore me to sanity over and over again. I didn't do that once. And then, because if I only did it once and it worked, then I'd be cured. What's fantastic about the steps is that we work the steps. We work them. We get to do them, to keep pulling ourselves off of that road of the disease in different areas of our lives and onto this road of the recovery. In the beginning, it doesn't feel like it feels like right? What am I doing? Right? Today it feels like I have come to believe that a power greater than me can restore me to sanity. That requires me to identify what the insanity is that I'm in the middle of. Let's do the food, I want to tell you something. I ain't going to die from food, but it's going to keep me miserable, and it hurts my knees when I gain weight. Ooh. But do the food, because, a lot of people can relate to that. What's the insanity with the food? If I don't eat that, I'm depriving myself. That is the only pleasure I have. This is like insane thinking, right? Here's another one. If I don't eat that, I may have to feel a feeling. Now we're talking. And I may have to feel a feeling that's resonating back 42 and a half years, like, pain, say. There's like a big pool of it inside that I never felt till a couple of years ago, and it's sloshing around in there, and I throw the food in it, and it's not really working. I get a heartburn because it's backing up. And that's insane. The insanity to avoid applying the steps to the disease of addiction as it expresses itself in my life today, here in sick thinking and in self-destructive behaviors, that's insane. To think that there is no higher power, or that God's not going to help me with this one too, that's totally nuts. I mean, I was dying 5 years, 9 months, and 3 days ago. I was this close to death. And now I'm alive and fat. What a guy. I'm powerless over my disease, and my life is profoundly unmanageable by me. They've come to believe that there's a power greater than me who can restore me to sanity if I turn my will and my life over to His care. What might God want me to do? My will, we know what my will is. My will is to eat 3 dinners, By the way, there was a long period of time when I would eat 3 dinners and then do projectile vomiting. Very attractive. That fuck was my dope fiend image. I'm tough motherfucker. I vomit after I eat. I don't do that anymore because I came to accept in here and not just here that I can't do that and stay in connection with a higher power. I cannot destroy myself in that way. What might God's will for me be? I don't think it's to eat 3 dinners. I don't think, if I ask what God's will for me, it's not going to be go to Hollywood Boulevard and cop some, shit and get down. That's not going to be, you don't have to be real fucking spiritual to figure that out. I make a decision to surrender and turn my will and my life over to the care of God and not do anything. I'm powerless over my disease. My life is unmanageable. I believe that God can restore me to sanity, so I'm going to turn my will and my life over to His care. One more time, in this matter, right now, I might have to feel some feelings and not fix them and go through something right now. I don't know about you, but when I hear about, I've made a decision. I turned my will and my life over to the care of God. What happened? They turned into Mother Teresa? Mother Teresa does God's will. She's my hero. What's the opposite of an addict? Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa does God's will at all times. It's like a perfect match. I think at some point maybe she struggled and got rid of herself. Well, there's like a perfect match. It ain't going to happen over here. Mother Teresa don't need the 12 steps to like get into the track again. She's got it. We don't get it. We got to practice these principles. Not like a doctor practices medicine, like a kid practices the piano over and over and over and over again. Every time I do it, I'm saying no to the disease. Every time I say no to the disease, I'm in the recovery. And it may mean I'm going to have to feel some feelings. See, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be that back there, I turned my will and my life over to the care of God and I got better. What a dope fiend idea. You know, I worked the steps and everything turned rosy. I chased that fucking dragon for 23 years. And then I looked for it in here too. And it's not about that. Recovery is about that we get to live life, and the way we get to do it is by living the steps. That's how we get to like confront life. I'll talk about me. Go through it. Have one. I have a life today. You know, I got clean, it was 36.7, and I had done a lot of stuff. I had been married, I had a lot of this, I had a lot of that, and it was all bullshit. You know, it was done by a false person that I constructed because I thought I was nothing. You know, a false person I constructed out of character defects. I made up a character. You know, I pumped it all up with sick pride to hold it together, and I went out there in the world. Fuck yeah, you know, like that, whatever. You know, that was my thing. Fuck you. Where's mine? And don't fuck with me, motherfucker. You know, like that, right? Very attractive. We were all so attractive in the disease. The glue that held it to this person, this monster, not a monster, it's like a marionette together, was the drugs. You know what happened when I hit bottom was the glue was falling apart. And the character was falling apart. And what I was left with was what was inside. There's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a ball of shame. I don't know how to do anything. I've taught this make-believe person how to function in the world, how to be, how to have like some kind of relationship. Honey, wrong, you know? And today, if I get out of the disease and into these grooves that I cut out by working these steps, as a result of that, I feel like I'm a person today. I have person. I have a life. I have an inside to me. Things happen inside of me today. I experience some peace of mind. Not all the time. That's what I think. Oh, don't fuck with my serenity, man. Don't fuck with my serenity. You know, it's like, that's the old thing, like, don't hassle me. Remember that from the, hey, don't hassle. It's the same thing. You know, I come here, it's like, hey, anything that fucks with my serenity, it's like, again, like one more time, I think I get clean, I go into a coma, right? That serenity is a coma. See what I mean? That's another, like, dope fiend dream. My battle today is that the character defects don't work good anymore. You see, they really worked good for 23 years. They protected me. That little hurt person, they protected her from some real dangers too when I was a child of a dysfunctional family. Today, my character defects hurt me. You know, today when I isolate, I hurt behind it. Then, if I get into the next character defect, I get angry about it. And then I'm lost in the disease again. Right? The promise of freedom is that by working the steps, applying the steps to the character defects as they slap me in the face, I will get to go through, I will get to experience what it's like to not be with them. I will get to imagine a Roberta without that character defect. And then if it's God's will, it'll be removed. The need, that feeling of fear that causes me to lash out, to hurt others with my mouth. I have to be willing to shut up, or as they say in the Hollywood area of Narcotics Anonymous, tie off at the neck. I'm getting ready to have God remove the character defect that causes me to abuse others, to blame the world for what I'm feeling so that I don't have to look at it or experience it. I have to be willing to not act off of it and to seek and to ask God to help me to see what the opposite of that character defect is, which is to be loving. I have to be willing to practice that. And one day, if it's God's will, that need to protect, that insane need to protect what actually is protected, right? I'm taken care of. May be removed. That incredible fear of being hurt that causes me to do damage out there may be removed. But I got to cooperate. The same like with the drugs. I had to cooperate. You have to not use. And I have to not use my character defects as I get to work on them. They don't all get removed. Well, that's another one. We have so many options with these 12 steps to go into like a fucking pipe dream here. Humbly asked him to remove his shortcomings. Remove my shortcomings, take them, they're gone. Right? See, we never cop to it. I never say, I know, I'm never going to be cured. I'm being act till I die. But secretly, I think that, if I work the steps right, I'll be cured. I'll say I won't be cured. I'll still come to meetings. I'll still go to dances, but I'll actually be cured. I won't have any more character defects. My will be, what's that word? Aligned with God's at all times, which means I wouldn't have to work the steps. See, I go from like being an addict, a totally sick person with the bugs on the legs, to Mother Teresa by reading the steps. I don't know where I'm talking in chaos here. My experiences in this, I'm just sort of like blabbering around the steps. Like I don't know how to, you hear like work the steps and people don't tell you how they work the steps. I don't know if I'm telling you a little bit of how I work the steps. It's a conscious thing I have to do. Unconscious, subconscious, I do disease. Conscious, well, that's not true. Today, in a lot of areas of my life, unconscious, I do the disease. Those grooves in some areas of my life are cut real deep, and I have some peace of mind. I do listen when that voice comes up from inside and says, honey, don't do that. And I say, okay, thank you for sharing. Really, you want to set up a dialogue with God? When the thing comes up inside and says, don't do that, for an experiment, try not saying, no! That's in many areas of my life, I still do that. It'll come up and say, take a walk. You take a fucking walk. I forget that it's coming from inside of me. You take a walk. In other areas of my life, when we call it the still, quiet voice, or an experience of God in myself, or my recovery, or that which is divine, or recovering within me, speaks inside, next to the disease, and they have a dialogue, I go with the recovery. In a lot of areas it's automatic. That is recovery. That part is expanding, where I'm willing to listen. There's some places where you go like right automatic into the fuck behavior, right? Right? You go and it's like, I did it again! Oh my God! Right? That's when the sponsee calls up and says, I don't know, I'm in one of those relationships again. I don't know how it happened. Right? And then there's the next, that's where we're unconscious. That's the denial. We're unconscious. That's where you have a sponsor who says, "You're doing it again!" I didn't hear a thing. Then the next phase, from working the steps, you get it with those things, you get into like another thing where from inside a voice comes, "You're doing it again!" And at that point, if I say, "I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to take that action right now," I'm going to have feelings. The feelings that I'm going to have that I would fix with that behavior out there that's self-destructive, if I say no to the self-destructive, I'm going to have feelings. Pretty much it's going to be pain. And honey, you know it's going to be fear. What is life going to be like without, if I don't behave that old way? It's like, do you know anybody who got clean and said, "Oh, I'm so glad that tomorrow's going to be the first day I'm not going to use for 23, it's not like that. We're afraid. What happened to me that was so profound when I was in Arizona, 5 3/4 years ago, is that I got hope that I didn't have to live the way I was living. That all the things that I experienced as wrong with me, I would be able to work on. That I couldn't con you people, and I didn't have to. That there is a way out. There is a way. That I could experience life, I could experience myself as a worthwhile human being. That I could have relationships, that I could experience love without expectation of return. That I could allow people to love me. That's a little bit hard. I think that comes in the 10th year, but I'm not sure. That I could have a life, that I don't have to die. I look out here, this is the most amazing thing. To see a few hundred people who know so well how to die, all pointing in the same direction and believing this, that in Narcotics Anonymous there is the message of hope. There is a promise that we do recover. Thank you for letting me share.